You may have seen the hashtag 2020 challenge on social media, so in this video I will demonstrate how you can use Adobe Spark to create your own version. First, you will need to pick 9 photos, and each photo represents the vibe of that given month from 2020. So here's my cat, Clementine, and you can see she's pretty happy at the start of the year and then goes downhill from there. And her expressions do sum up my feelings for this time period. So I'll create another collage using images of my other cat, Winston, and I suggest putting your 9 photos into a folder and labeling them for each month beforehand. It is helpful if they're cropped into a square composition, but they don't have to be. Open up a browser and go to the Adobe Spark website. If you have an account already, you can sign in, but you can also click Start Now and sign in with Google, etc. If you do not have an account, you can sign up free with an email, and then you would create an account. I have an account already, so I will click Sign In, and it's been connected to my Google email, which is very convenient not to have to type it in every time. You may have to choose an account here, and a lot of schools and organizations have what is called an enterprise ID. But if you're not sure, you can choose Adobe ID. I know that all the students at my organization have Adobe IDs, but photography, video, and design students have enterprise IDs. My page may look different than yours, and scrolling down, you'll see the projects that I've already created, and up above, you have all the different types of projects that you can create. And we need a square for our 9 months, January through September, so we'll choose an Instagram post. But if you'll be doing 12 months instead, you would want to choose a custom image that has a width of 1080 and a height of 1440. Now we have a blank artboard for our photos. But if you signed up for a free account, you might have a logo down here, which I believe can be deleted. We're not going to be tempted by any templates, so we're going to cross over onto the upper right side and click the plus sign so we get the option of adding a photo. And you can connect to photos that are in your Adobe Library, Lightroom, Dropbox, or a Google account. And you can upload your own photos from your computer, where mine are, and I'll navigate to the folder that's on my desktop. Choose your first image, January, and click Open, and then you want to move it freely around the artboard. Loading the photo might take a little while, so don't worry if it seems to be stuck, but if it ever does seem really stuck, just go back to the Adobe Spark homepage. It does a pretty good job of auto-saving your work so you can pick right up where you left off. When it loads, we want to crop it square, so click the crop icon. You have preset shapes that you can use, but we want to scroll to find the 1-to-1 crop and click it. Then click the check mark in the upper corner to finish the crop. You can use the corner handles around the photograph to resize it, knowing that 9 of them need to fit on this one artboard. Use the reddish-pink guidelines to find the intersecting middle point of the artboard. Once you find the middle point, you can drop the image. Don't worry that it's January's image. Next, we're going to come up to the top middle and click this icon to duplicate that same image so that we can get the proportions of our grid. You also have the option to delete or replace the image if needed. Move the duplicated photo over to the left and see how it fits. Then you're going to duplicate a third time and place one on the left, lining it up using those guidelines. Now, I magically got lucky with the size, but that's pretty close to the correct fit. But let's pretend that it didn't fit. If it was the case, then I suggest deleting the duplicates and resizing the original using the handles. And then, this is the important part, you will need to use those guidelines again to replace it into the center. It does not automatically stay in the center if you resize it. Then duplicate again 2 more times and keep resizing until all 3 versions fit the artboard. Once they do, you're going to duplicate the image 6 more times, placing each square filling up the entire board. Once you've got the 9 boxes sized and aligned where you like them, you then need to replace the January image with those other months. Click on the second photo and then go to the Replace icon above. Over on the right-hand side, click for the location of your photo, and again, have patience as it replaces that image. Because we already chose a 1-by-1 square crop, it should automatically crop each photo as you replace them one by one. So next is March, and I will continue through each of the months, speeding this up since I know it takes a bit of time to upload each. And a side note, my photos look a little pixelated, but I think it's because I'm making a screen recording. It will not look like that for the end result. Your second row will be April, May, and June, and the third row will be July, August, and September. If your image doesn't quite fill the entire square, with it selected, you can move the Scale Image slider to make the image bigger or smaller within that crop. And then click the check mark up top to finish the crop. You can also click and drag within the square if you want to move the focal point of your object. With it selected, click the crop tool, and now you can see the sides of the image that are being cropped off. You can click inside the image with the hand tool and move the image within that square. And again, you can scale it as well and then finish the crop. Next, check your alignment. In my third row, the middle square, I can see that it doesn't line up with the second row. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard to slightly nudge it to the right. I also noticed that it would look better if it was moved in front of the neighboring square to the right. So I'm going to click the middle one and then I'm going to use the order slider. This slider will move the image in front or behind the other objects that are overlapping it. I'll demonstrate moving it all the way to the left, and now the middle image is below its neighboring images, and then selecting it again and moving it over to the far right. It's now on top of its neighboring images. It is still not quite aligned, so I will click on it and use the handles to make it just slightly bigger. Once things are aligned the way you like it, come back over to the far right and click the Add button again, and this time we'll be adding text. For this, we will add our own text instead of using a preset, and we'll start by typing in the month with the most letters, which is September. This will be our template. And just to demonstrate that Spark also has spell check, which is a great feature. Click Done, and now you'll see that the text has been added. Click and drag it down to the September photo, and then you can come over to the right and you can change your font. I really like the Playfair font, but you can choose whichever you like the most. Next, we will adjust the size of the font. And if you wanted to fill up the majority of the space in the bottom of the box, you can use this slider, or you can click the drop down and use some of the preset numbers. You can also click inside that box and type in a specific number and then hit the Enter or Return key on your keyboard to accept it. Also in the Type panel, you have the option to adjust the opacity/transparency and the order of the text. So if your photo is in front of your text, you can adjust the order by moving the slider. You can also use this icon to choose to capitalize all the letters and have them fit within the space. And in doing that, I see that the perfect font size for my text is 60.8. So I'll want the same size for all the other months. You can change or remove the yellow background shape if you like. To do that, you'll just click on the shape icon and then scroll to find the option of having no backing shape. You might want to change the color of your font, so click the color icon on the right-hand side, and I will choose white, but you do have a lot of other color options. You can also double-click on the color icon to bring up some more advanced options, like typing in a specific hex code or clicking within this box to change the tint, shade, and saturation of a color. You can also use the eyedropper tool to select a specific color from your image, say this orange, and it will load that color in. But I'm just going to go back to white. To keep all of the text with the same format, make sure September is selected and then go up to the top to duplicate it 8 times. And you'll grab and align each of them to each box. When you have all 9 with text, you're going to double click inside and type in the months. But when I typed in January, you can now see that the font size is too small. So with it selected, I'll go back and click on the type icon, and then in the drop down, I can see the last font sizes I used, and I can choose the 60.8 sized font. Continue typing in each additional month, and this time I lucked out. It's the correct size. So you might find that sometimes it transfers the settings perfectly, and sometimes you might have to adjust it to make it match. And I will speed up this process. You'll also find that sometimes it keeps the alignment perfect, and other times it might be off a tiny little bit. In this example here for the month of March, I'm going to click on the text and use my arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge it into place so it aligns with February. And I'm going to come down and do the same with June. Notice that the bottom of the J is a little bit extended, so I don't want that falling over into September's photo. That's why I'm moving up the text just a tad, and I'll do the same with the J in July. When you've got a rough draft done, you'll go over to download, and you're wanting to download as a JPEG. Go ahead and click Start Download. Then click to open the JPEG so you can check to see that everything looks the way you want it to. And I see the text for my middle and top rows is a little too high. So I'm going to close that and go back to Adobe Spark and make some final touches. And I would like the March photo to be behind February's, so I'll click and adjust that order as well. After you're done with your finishing touches, go back to download and download another copy as a JPEG. You can do this as many times as you need to, but I think this looks great. So now you have a JPEG to use however you would like. And let's go back and finish up in Spark. You may have noticed that Spark has been automatically saving your work the entire time. So let's go back to your home page by clicking on the Spark icon. And back in your home page, you can see your recent work. You have these 3 dots you can click on to give you more options, like renaming your project, for example. And you can also do other things like you can share it. You can invite people to see your work, or you can publish it directly onto social media like Facebook or Twitter. Unfortunately, Instagram isn't listed for me, but I can certainly use the JPEG to do that. And that is how you create the 9 square photo collage using Adobe Spark.